So I've lived in Atlanta for 16 years, and in my opinion, these are the 5 best Atlanta neighborhoods that you could live in 2024. Let's get into it. So one caveat is that not all of these neighborhoods are technically in the city of Atlanta. For practical purposes, all of these neighborhoods are inside the perimeter of 285, which is a much more practical use of being in town or in the suburbs. So try not to be too literal with me. And the other thing I want to mention is that this is really just an excuse to talk about some of the great neighborhoods in the Atlanta area. I don't really want to make videos about Buckhead and Midtown and all the typical neighborhoods that you always hear about. So for me, this is a great way to highlight some amazing Atlanta neighborhoods that are in different price points, different parts of the city, and have different great things about them. So coming in at number 5, I have Chamblee. Chamblee is in the northeast side of town, right next to Brookhaven, which is a great high-end area. Last year, Doraville was on my list, which is adjacent to Chamblee. These neighborhoods are often referred to together, but the reason I like Chamblee so much, number one, you've heard me talk about this quite a bit, but if you're a foodie, if you like Latin American and Asian food, Buford Highway runs through Chamblee, and so this is one of the best spots in the city for not only cheap eats, but just great food. You've heard me talk about, of all the things that I love about Atlanta, the food scene, in my opinion, is lacking in a lot of different ways. Well, Buford Highway is the saving grace of that. So for me, that's a reason unto itself to live in Chamblee. But the other reasons would be, so great location, right? You're inside the perimeter. If you've got a commute closer to downtown, that's going to be relatively easy for you. Good value. Okay, you're surrounded by Brookhaven, Buckhead, North Druid Hills. These are very expensive areas. You can be surrounded by these great areas at a slightly lower budget here, okay? We're talking, if you don't mind condo living, you can start off in the mid to low $200,000 range. You can't do that in the other neighborhoods that I mentioned. If you are looking for a single family detached home, you're probably going to be starting in the mid 400s. So it's not a cheap area, but it's surrounded by great areas and there's great value here. There's great food. This is a safe area, typically with good quality public schools. And if you're wondering what kind of fun things you can do in this area, well, you've got Buckhead like 10, 15 minutes away, right? All the high-end retail shopping, fancy restaurants that you could want. Midtown is probably 15 minutes away. Piedmont Park is practically in your backyard. That's the commercial arts district. So when you're close to Midtown and Buckhead, even Brookhaven has Dresden Drive with lots of good quality shopping and fun things to do. That is all really close by for you. So for me, this is really good value for how expensive the adjacent areas are. It's a more diverse area than many of the Atlanta neighborhoods that you typically hear about on these best of lists. And like I said, great food. Just overall, I think it's a fantastic place to look at if you're thinking about moving to the city of Atlanta. So number 5 is Chamblee. Number 4 is near and dear to my heart. It is Summerhill. Now, it's important to me because I live in the adjacent neighborhood of Peoplestown, and so I have literally seen Summerhill completely transform over the last 15 years. When I purchased real estate in this area, there was no Beltline. It was still Turner Field where the Braves used to play. And since then, the Beltline has been developed. It is not fully completed in this area, but it is on track to be. This will be, I don't know if you would refer to it as a Beltline neighborhood. It is very close to the Beltline, very, very close. So I would say it's a Beltline neighborhood. You can certainly in many areas walk to the Beltline here, which is a major, major amenity. If you're not familiar, I have full-length videos about the Beltline, but this is the most popular amenity in Atlanta. And when you live walking distance to the Beltline, it puts a lot of other great neighborhoods at your fingertips. So there's that. Then you used to have Turner Field, which was, they only played 80 home games, and for the rest of the year it was a vacant lot basically. Well, Georgia State University purchased it, they refurbished it, and they make way better use of it. They not only, it's their football stadium, but they do all kinds of events here, host concerts, all kinds of fun stuff. And they've not just purchased the stadium, but the adjacent lots and put up student housing. So this area is growing like crazy. In particular, Georgia Ave is becoming one of the coolest walkable little stretches really in the whole city, right? And I say that because you've got some really high quality, great options. I love it. You've got Halfway Crooks, which is my favorite brewery in the city. You've got Woods Chapel, which is a fantastic barbecue restaurant. There's a great pizza place. There's Little Bear, which was Bib Gourmand when Michelin put out their guide recently on Atlanta. Fantastic restaurant. So, walkable areas with high quality restaurants and shops, really rare in Atlanta. And you've got one of the best on Georgia Ave in Summerhill. You're also close to, I think it was number 1 on my list last year, Grant Park, right? If you live in Summerhill, Grant Park is at your fingertips. You can walk there. It's a fantastic park. The zoo is right there, I should mention. Oakland Cemetery. So listen, you're in the heart of the city. It's more affordable than Grant Park. It is not a cheap place to live, okay? If you are looking at Summerhill you're probably going to be in the mid-5s, whether it's attached or detached. Probably much higher if it's detached. A lot of condo options popping up here, and it's not going to find them much cheaper than the mid-500s, maybe even more than that. So, it's not a super affordable area, but Grant Park is much more expensive. And listen, you're practically in downtown Atlanta, okay? You're in the heart of the city, easy access to the major interstates, and it's a growing area. It's becoming a more and more vibrant area. There's a little walkable stretch. It's a Beltline neighborhood. So Summerhill has just transformed tremendously, and it is becoming one of the most popular spots to hang out in Atlanta at any time. So number 4, Summerhill. Coming in at number 3 on my list, I have Vinings. Now, I do always like to highlight at least one of the higher end, higher income, more desirable areas, right? And there's a lot of these in and around Atlanta. Most of them are part of, one of the villages of Buckhead or Brookhaven. But today I wanted to highlight Vinings, and this is a higher end area. It's on the northwest side of town. And look, it's going to cost you at least in the high 600s to buy a home in Vinings, and that's going to be a small home, okay? So don't get me wrong. I'm talking to people who have a larger budget, right? But that is many of you. If you have that larger budget, you want to be in the city, I would totally recommend you take a look at Vinings. Here's why. Goes without saying, higher end area, very safe, feels very private, very heavily wooded, right? It's always a beautiful drive going through Vinings. This is a tight-knit community. I've found that, the neighbors pretty much all know each other, but the location is prime. So to the southeast of you, you can be in West Midtown in minutes, right? And West Midtown is a fantastic shopping district. You've got West Side Provisions, great restaurants like Bacchanalia. This is one of the better shopping districts in all of Atlanta. So that's really close by to you. To the northwest of you, roughly, you've got the Battery in Smyrna. This is where the Atlanta Braves play now. And I talk about it all the time, but this is a great amenity to be close by to. It's just another option for you and your family to have, or you and your partner to have a date night, or just more fun shopping, retail things to do. These are great amenities. You can go catch a Braves game or one of the events that they put on the Battery. You've really got a lot of fun things at your fingertips, and it goes without saying, again, Buckhead is close by, Midtown is close by. So I like that it's not in the heart of Buckhead and in the heart of the craziness of the traffic and all that's going on there. It's a little bit set to the side, a little bit more quiet, but everything is at your fingertips. So, if I had an unlimited budget and I wanted to be in town, Vinings would definitely be on my list of places to check out. All right, coming in at number 2 on my list, I have Hapeville. Now, I love to highlight South Atlanta. I talk about College Park and East Point and how I think they're fantastic places to live with great value. I talk about Hapeville quite a bit. In the Urbanization Atlanta poll this year, Hapeville came in at number 1, I believe. It was their number 1 Atlanta neighborhood. Not technically in the city of Atlanta, it is the city of Hapeville, but listen, you're inside the perimeter. Benefits of living here for me are the tremendous value, right? You can be inside the perimeter in the mid to low 300s. Now that is going to be a starter home. It's not going to be, fancy upgrades and finishes, but you can be in the city in the low to mid 300s. You're also very close to the airport. You may work in that industry, you may travel a lot, but there are a lot of benefits to being very close to the airport. And we're talking less than a 5-minute drive if you live in Hapeville. This is also a growing area. If you're purchasing real estate for the long haul, you want to know how it's going to appreciate over the next 20 years. Hapeville is a very safe bet. You not only have the airport, which I feel like is a great economic anchor, you've got a ton of development. Airport City, Aerotropolis. It's in different stages of completion, but there are a lot of businesses headquartered in this area. Porsche, Chick-fil-A. There's a lot of money flowing through here. There's a lot of development in the works, and I think it's going to continue to grow. And this is, an artistic community. City of the Arts. They pride themselves on being an artistic community. The architecture is often really cool out here, along with the other College Park and East Point make up the Tri-Cities. You've got some gorgeous older homes here, so not your typical cookie cutter suburban homes, quiet, safe, not noted for the best public schools, so maybe this is more of an option for people who don't have kids or are less concerned with that. But I love Hapeville, and I think if you talk to anyone who lives there or spend time there, they love Hapeville as well. If I was on a restrictive budget, let's say I had to purchase something for under $300,000, I would either be looking at Hapeville or Chamblee, right? Those would be my two favorite budget options. So number 2 on the list, Hapeville. All right, and coming in at number 1 on my list of the best Atlanta neighborhoods in 2024, I have Reynoldstown. Now, I talked before about how much change I saw in the Summerhill area. Well, I have seen even more change in the Reynoldstown area. I can't tell you, 16 years ago, driving down Memorial Drive, it was nothing. There was parking lots, there was homegrown, it was kind of barren. It was like a little funky place to live. Let me tell you, if I could do a side-by-side, maybe my editor can find some photos, but Memorial Drive 10 to 15 years ago to now, it is night and day. The whole corridor has been completely built up with condos and retail. There's a whole retail area with an AMC and a Publix and decent restaurants. Of course, the big draw here is this is really a Beltline community, and it's a great spot on the Beltline. Okay, so we're talking about, in terms of lifestyle, you being in the heart of the city, walking out your door, hopping on the Beltline for a walk or a jog, and you can go north to Inman Park and then up to Midtown, as far north as you want to go. You can go south if you want, although it's less completed there. You can head south through Peoplestown and around to the west side, right? This is the power of the Beltline and providing access to neighborhoods that would otherwise, be a hassle to drive in because Atlanta traffic is so bad. So if you go to Reynoldstown and Memorial Drive where there's Beltline access, you're going to see people out running, walking, dogs. There's a whole vibe out there, right? Glenwood Park is right at your fingertips, which is a cool little area with lots of great shopping and coffee shops and all that fun stuff. But this is like a great spot for a younger couple or younger family if you want to be in the heart of the city with, less reliability on a car. I'm definitely not going to tell you don't need to own a car if you live in Reynoldstown, but man, it has just transformed tremendously over the last 10 to 15 years. The values have gone up, and I think it's going to keep going. Honestly, it's approaching like an Inman Park level of desirability, and it's just a destination for people who live here. Of course, like the other neighborhoods I mentioned, you're right down the street from Grant Park, like a 3-minute drive. You're right down the street from Inman Park. These are all really popular, desirable neighborhoods. There's Edgewood and Little Five Points right there. So, that's a benefit of many of these neighborhoods just being in town, is that you're going to have other great neighborhoods at your fingertips. I said high $400,000. It's probably going to be an attached option. It's much more expensive for a detached option because it's pretty dense here, okay? But I still think it's good value. I think even at those prices, you're going to get some great appreciation because they just keep building in this area. It's a great spot. I love Reynoldstown. I think it's come up tremendously over the last few years. It's got a great vibe with lots of fun things to do. I think it absolutely deserves my spot as the best Atlanta neighborhood in 2024. So there you have it, y'all. My picks for the 5 best neighborhoods in Atlanta in 2024. I hope you enjoyed that list. I always just love highlighting the different Atlanta neighborhoods because look, there are a lot of great places that you could live here. If you want to continue the discussion, if you need help finding a place in Atlanta, of course, that's what we do, that's what we specialize in, and that's why we make these videos, right? So we've got a lot of experience doing it, and you can book a call with me for free. You actually talk with me, we go through your needs and what you're looking to do, and we come up with a plan for success. So I love it when my viewers become clients. You can book an appointment with me using the Calendly link in the description below. Call me, text me, whatever you want to do. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.